A treat is supposed to be small. That is how it gets expensive. The stress buyer. The stress buyer doesn't spend because they're happy. They spend because they're anxious. A stressful week at work, a scary news cycle, an overdraft notification, all of it becomes a trigger. The purchase doesn't solve the problem, it interrupts it. For a few minutes, the focus shifts from what's wrong to what's arriving in the mail. Bank of America's 2025 research found that 30% of Gen Z are likely to treat themselves to a purchase, specifically when worried about money. Not in spite of the financial stress, because of it. Spending becomes a circuit breaker for anxiety. The problem is the anxiety comes back when the package does, and now there's a charge on top of it. They got a notification that their account balance was low, closed the app, and ordered something to feel better. This is the whole story. The little treat addict. The little treat addict isn't spending irresponsibly. They're just treating themselves. The morning coffee, the afternoon cookie, the candle that was on sale, the book that felt important. None of it is excessive. Every single purchase is individually defensible. That's the trap. At $8 a day, the little treat habit costs $240 a month, $2,880 a year. Not on one thing, on dozens of things that barely register individually, but collectively take the place of a savings account. Treat culture didn't invent this pattern. Every generation had a version of it. What changed is that delivery, digital payments, and one-click checkout removed every natural pause between wanting something and having it. It's just a coffee. It's just a candle. It's just a little treat. It's just $347 this month.
The reward giver. The reward giver runs on a system. Finish the report? Treat. Survive Monday? Treat. Make it to Friday? Definitely a treat. It sounds like positive reinforcement, and technically it is. The problem is that the bar for what counts as an achievement keeps moving. It started at finishing a big project. Now it includes getting out of bed, sending one email, or making it through a meeting without checking their phone. When everything earns a reward, the reward system stops being a system. It becomes a default spending mode. Research on habit formation confirms this. Rewards only reinforce behavior when tied to specific, meaningful actions. Otherwise, they just reinforce spending. They finished a task and rewarded themselves with a $60 online order. The task was replying to one email.
The BNPL optimist. The BNPL optimist doesn't see a $200 purchase. They see 4 payments of $50. And 4 payments of $50 feels manageable. This is exactly what buy now, pay later platforms are designed to create. A psychological reframing of cost that makes the full price feel abstract, while the installment feels real. What the BNPL optimist often doesn't calculate is that they have 3 other items on installment at the same time,
This is getting unmanageable.
and a 4th incoming.
No, this is too...
Gen Z is expected to make up 30% of all US BNPL users, and Gen Z currently carries the highest average personal debt of any generation at $94,000. The math on 4 easy payments is never as easy as advertised. They can't tell you how much debt they have. They can tell you all 4 installment schedules are totally manageable. The TikTok buyer. The TikTok buyer wasn't looking for anything. They were scrolling. Then they saw it. A product review, a haul, you need this from someone with good lighting and a convincing tone. 62% of Gen Z report buying something after seeing a social media ad. The platform makes product discovery feel like a recommendation from a friend, not an ad from a brand. The TikTok buyer knows on some level that they're being marketed to. They buy anyway, because the want was real, even if it was manufactured. What social shopping does particularly well is create desire for things the buyer never thought to want, then close the sale before that desire fades. They went on TikTok to watch videos about saving money and left having bought 3 things recommended in the comments. The emotional rebounder. The emotional rebounder shops after bad days. The argument. The professional disappointment. The general weight of a week that didn't go as planned. Shopping in these moments isn't about the product, it's about agency. The feeling of making a decision, choosing something, claiming a small win when everything else feels out of control. Researchers call this compensatory consumption, using purchases to restore a sense of self-worth after a psychological blow. It works. Briefly, the emotional state improves for a short window. Then it returns. And the purchase is still there on the statement, alongside everything else from the last 3 bad weeks.
I'm fine.
They said they were fine. Then they bought $180 worth of things they didn't need. They were not fine. The barbell spender. The barbell spender is disciplined and indulgent at exactly the same time. Generic groceries, leftovers for lunch. Then a $95 dinner on Saturday. Store brand shampoo, then front row concert tickets. The logic seems sound. Cut the small things to justify the big ones. The problem is the math rarely balances. The savings from the store brand don't cover the dinner. The frugal weeks don't offset the splurge weekends. McKinsey's 2025 consumer research named this the barbell effect. Households trading down in everyday categories while trading up in experiences and luxury. The barbell feels like balance. It usually isn't. They meal prepped all week to justify the Saturday dinner that cost more than the groceries.
The I deserve it spender. The I deserve it spender has found the most powerful justification in personal finance, moral currency. They worked hard. They had a rough week. They said no to something else recently. Each of these becomes a deposit in a moral ledger that can be cashed in at any time for a purchase. The logic is seductive because it's technically true. They did work hard. The problem is that hard work and spending money are unrelated transactions. The effort doesn't reduce the cost. The sacrifice doesn't change the account balance. It only changes how the purchase feels emotionally. And emotional permission is the most expensive currency most people carry. They worked hard all week and deserved the $240 thing. The $240 thing did not know this and charged them anyway.
The Experience Maximizer. The Experience Maximizer doesn't waste money on things. They spend it on memories, dinners, concerts, weekend trips, festivals. This is where the money goes, and they will tell you exactly why. Research backs them up. Experiences often generate more lasting happiness than objects. Behavioral economists have confirmed this repeatedly. What the Experience Maximizer sometimes misses is that experiences have a credit card too. The trip was unforgettable. The credit card statement remembers it differently. There's a version of experience spending that's intentional and genuinely wise, and there's a version that uses a research-backed principle as cover for a spending habit that produces the same outcome as any other. They don't own much, they owe a lot, but the memories are incredible.
The subscription collector. The subscription collector didn't make one big spending decision. They made 40 small ones, months apart, each of which seemed reasonable at the time. Streaming, music, news, cloud storage, a fitness app, a meal kit that still ships even though they haven't used it since March, a software tool for a project they finished in January. Research shows the average American underestimates their monthly subscription spend by over 40%. Each charge isn't the problem, the collection is. And because every charge is small, automated, and easy to ignore, the collection grows indefinitely, unless someone actually sits down with a statement and counts. Most people don't count until the number is already large. They have subscriptions being charged to a card they forgot they had. Everything is fine. Treat culture isn't a character flaw. It's a response to stress, to hard work, to a world that moves fast, costs a lot, and doesn't offer many free wins. The problem isn't the treat. It's when the treat becomes the default, when every emotion has a purchase attached to it, when the justification is already waiting before the question is even asked. You don't have to stop treating yourself. You just have to decide when it's actually a treat and when it's just spending with a better story. That difference is worth more than any reward.